Hello and welcome to Jill Cameron Creations, and it's Christmas in July. Today I'm doing 5 clean and simple cards, and I'm using minimal supplies. I am using several different stamp sets, but the supplies to make them are the same throughout, so you get the same kind of feel as a cohesive set. This would be a really great option to do for Christmas cards for your entire family or to send out to everybody. You have a stamp sets that you can use over and over in a multitude of ways, but then you only have to have 2 colors of ink and some embossing powders and that kind of thing to be able to do this. I've linked all of the products listed that I'm using in the cards below. I'm using Concord and 9th stamp sets. Really beautiful stamp sets that have been around for a while, so if you're a card maker, you more than likely have these in your stash. So the first card that I made is a really super simple card, and what I did was I stamped the main sentiment in cardinal red from scrapbook.com, and then I stamped it twice to make sure that my color was really deep. And then I stamped on it again in Versamark ink. Make sure that you clean your stamp really good so your Versamark ink pad doesn't turn red. But I stamped it I stamped it in Versamark ink, and then I coated it in clear embossing powder. I did that twice. It makes the sentiment itself and the image on the card raise just slightly and gives an amazing look in person. Unfortunately, it's really difficult to capture on camera and on film to do a picture. So you just have to take my word for it. It's absolutely gorgeous in person. Now, my Daisy Kitty wants to be part of this as well. The second thing that I did was I went and grabbed a ornament from another stamp set from Concord and 9th. It's that holiday cheer stamp set. And I added the ornament here to the side, and I'm also going to use one of the borders there that's included in that stamp set. Stamped the ornament in the exact same way. I stamped it twice with the colored ink and once with clear Versamark ink, and then coated it in embossing powder, clear embossing powder. This would actually be really cool as well if you have the satin, the Hero Arts satin white, pearl satin. What is the name of that? Satin pearl satin. It's not white detail. I'm trying to open my drawer here real quick to see if I can't find it. White satin pearl. Well, I had all the words in there, just not in the right order. The ornament would be really cool in that white satin pearl as well, but I went ahead and just did everything with clear embossing powder because you more than likely have clear embossing powder in your stash. If you have pigment inks, you could do this with pigment inks, and then you would just stamp the color and then clear emboss over top of it twice. Save you one step anyway. Then I decided that it was still a little too plain, and I stamped the border from that same holiday cheer tags stamp set from Concord and 9th. It is a little bit older stamp set, but it's still available over on their website. All of these stamp sets I went and double checked, and as of right now in July of 2020, they're still available over on their website. One thing that I will mention about doing this particular card is remember to actually use your anti-static powder bag in between every single stamp for your Versamark stuff. If you're going to double stamp it, make sure that you use it in between even the 2 times there. I went ahead and I trimmed this panel down. I think I took about a 1/2 inch off of the top and one of the sides. I noticed that my panel I wasn't centered in my panel for my sentiment and stuff, so I just went ahead and trimmed it down. And I'm going to put some foam tape on the back of this. The foam tape that I'm using is from a 3-inch roll from scrapbook.com. Really great price point, and I can use this foam tape for anything. I can use it for this, or I could trim it down and use it for other stuff. So really great use there for that 3-inch foam tape. This one I added a little drop of Nouveau, and this is pale gold, in the center of that ornament. You could put a sequin there, you could leave it blank, you could use glossy accents, you use a bunch of stuff. Just an option. For the next card, I am using the, what is the name of the stamp set? My book is over here. I write all of my stuff down in a book so that I know what it is. It's the Trim the Tree. And I stamped this in the succulent green. I used the same green and the same red throughout all of the cards. All of them are hybrid inks from scrapbook.com. And then I stamped, it's like a little bow, and this is supposed to be a package, but I wanted this to look more like a tree, so I stamped the bow as the star of the tree and then the package as the trunk of the tree. And to add just a little bit of sparkle to this after I trim it down and center the panel back up, because evidently I sucked at centering stuff today when I did this. But I trimmed this down as well, and I'm just going to glue this to the front panel of a craft note card. All of my cards are A2 size. Okay, so for a little bit of sparkle on this card, so it's not just so plain, you could add one single gem to the top of this. Instead of the bow, you could add a red gem to the top of it. I added a little bit of glitter brush pen in the holes in the word jolly. So that's another option. You could also add little dots of red Nouveau glitter drops or red stickles around the edge of it to make it look like it's little ornaments through there. These are just the clean and simplest cards in the world, so that you could mass produce these really easy, really quickly, and add whatever you want to them. Okay, so for the next card we're using, it was a small stamp set, and this was the Merry and Bright. I'm also going to add in A2 rectangle stitched frames. They're from My Favorite Things. They're the original ones that came out how many years ago now, that I still use regularly. So I use a smaller one to trim this panel down pretty small. And then I'm going to use one that's a little bit bigger and trim out another piece of craft, and everything is glued down flat. I don't pop anything up on this card. I actually had a little bit more space in between that bow over there than I wanted, and to fix that, I said, well, I'm going to add a little star in here and heat emboss that in some pale gold embossing powder, and it looks amazing. Looks like I meant to do that. Yay! That's how you fix stuff. So I'm going to trim the panel down using a stitched rectangle frame. Then I'm going to use one that's a little bit bigger and trim out a piece of craft cardstock, and then I'm going to glue everything down the flat panel to a white top folding note card. The only one that's not a top folding note card was the very first one I did, and that's a landscape card. The stamp set that I used on the first one, I don't think I told you what it was other than that one stamp set, which was the holiday cheer tags. The other stamp set was Very Merry Sentiments. And of course, like I said, all the stuff I'm using in this video will be linked below in the description. And there is my kitty again, and she is not a happy camper right now. She has not been well for a little bit. And so Daisy has decided that her favorite place and the only place she wants to live is in my lap. And when she's not in my lap, she gets upset, and then I have a jealous dog. So then I have the dog poking at me too, and she doesn't really talk to me. She just gets mad and headbutts me. Thankfully, she's only a Shih Tzu, so she's pretty small. Okay, moving on. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So I have the next one. I'm using the Holiday Cheer Turnabout stamp set. I don't have the clear acetate guide for this. This is back when they were still sending out, you had to make your own. So I still have the jig that I made. If you don't know how to do this, I will put a link over on my blog to the Concord and 9th website. They have the guides that you can buy now, I think, for all of their Turnabout stamp sets. I wanted to do 2 green, 2 red on this. So that's what I did. But I didn't like turn and stamp it. I went ahead and stamped both the greens and both the reds. And I just knew which way I was turning it. I don't know if you paid attention to that or not. So one of them was top and bottom, and the red was side to side. That's just how I did it in my head, and that's what I did with it. So I'm using of course, this is a square stamp in the, you know, it's a square stamp. It stamps square images. Don't talk back to me, Daisy. And, but I'm doing a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card. I'm doing a, I wanted to add the sentiments to this, and the sentiment that I'm using is actually from the Very Merry Christmas sentiments, and they look like labels. So I went ahead and stamped that in black, and this is Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink, and then I stamped over it with Versamark ink and clear heat embossed them, and then I actually am fussy cutting those out. And instead of it being one large image, I wanted you to be able to actually see the pattern through in between the labels. I left a little bit of white. I didn't do it perfectly. I wanted to make sure that it looked like a little label. It looked like it was handmade. And I did not perfectly place them in line how they are here and centered and whatever on the stamp itself. I actually mixed it up a little bit, offset some of them, so it looks more graphic. This is a really good card if you have a friend that's like into graphics and that kind of thing. This is just that kind of card. So I trimmed everything out, and the scissors that I'm using are an old pair that I got way back when I was a Stampin' Up demonstrator, so nothing fancy about them. They're Stampin' Up scissors. Still like them. So there I have them all trimmed out, and I'm going to go ahead and I put the panel, didn't trim the panel down or anything. I'm just going to glue it to a top folding note card. I am using Elmer's Glue All, and I have no problems with it showing or anything like that. I don't have any problems with buckling paper. I absolutely love it. My card base was a little crooked, so I had to trim that down. Then that's all you have to do, trim it down. Just pick one end to make sure that it's straight. And there you go. Okay, so here I'm gonna choose where I'm putting everything on here. That's the traditional placement based on the stamp itself, and I decided I was not going to do that. And I'm sorry I suddenly sound a little distracted, but I have a cat that's pawing at me consistently at this point to get my attention and pay attention to her, because she doesn't necessarily feel the best in the world. Yeah. So, see, she's upset all the time now. I can't blame her. She lost her best friend, so. I know. That's what happens when I try to take her out of my lap. She yells at me. So I just don't try to take her out of my lap anymore. I just leave her here, and the only time I can get her out of my lap is if I'm standing up to make a card. The joys of pet ownership. Okay, so now I'm going to use the Cozy Christmas stamp set. And like I said, I'm just giving you some different options for all the different cards that you could simply make. And this is another one. And I am using the sentiments that are in this and the border stamp. I'm going to stamp the border along the edge here. I'm using some old pale gold embossing powder. It's almost actually a metallic yellow, is actually more along the lines that it is, but it's a bright yellow instead of like a greenish yellow. So I really like this gold embossing powder that I have. I'll see if I can't find something similar to it. That I've had in my stash for so many years now. I honestly don't have any idea where it came from or how I got it. No idea. None whatsoever. It might have been given to me somewhere along the lines. I don't know. Okay. For the sentiments, though, I am going to stack these up, and it says, "Have yourself a cozy little Christmas," instead of "a merry little Christmas." And I think that's really cute, and the cozy has the what looks like the stitches on it. The other option that you could do for this is do Cozy Little Christmas, and if you have a sweater patterned paper or a sweater background stamp, you could put that off to the side instead of the snowflake stitches there. So there's several options you could do with that, and mix and match different things. And I did not cut this down either. I left this as it was and just glued this to the front of a card. These are easily mailable, etc. Okay, so we have Christmas in July. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel here and head over to the blog for more tips on creating batch cards for Christmas like this. And we're going to have the pictures at the end. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thanks for joining me, and Merry Christmas in July!